I was fired after 17 years without warning, but my shocking secret was a game changer. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air felt heavy, as if the world had paused. My heart pounded, each beat echoing the dread creeping into my bones that I stood across the polished conference table, staring at my boss, Robert. His eyes didn't meet mine. They were locked on the paper in his hands. My stomach twisted when he cleared his throat. "We have to let you go?" Those words hung in the silence, sharp and cruel. I felt my breath hitch, disbelief wrapping around my chest like a vice. 17 years. 17 years of loyalty, countless late nights, and sacrifices. I'd given them my everything. And in return, I had this? I could hear my colleagues' hushed whispers, the muffled gasps. Sarah's eyes widened. Her hand flew to her mouth. I wanted to scream, to demand an explanation, but all I could manage was a shaky nod. My trembling hands reached for the chair as I fought to stay upright. How did it come to this? Just last week, I was complimenting myself for surviving the turmoil of the past few months. An office merger. Rumors of layoffs buzzing like pesky flies. Friends comforting friends. But this wasn't how I envisioned my career ending. Every heartbeat felt like a drum roll. Ushering in the final act of a tragic play. I gathered my personal effects photos of my kids, a coffee mug I loved. I caught a glimpse of Sally, my closest friend and confidant. Tears glistened in her eyes. I could almost hear her heart breaking alongside mine, and it pulled at me. How could I face my family now? No job meant no security. My chest tightened, a suffocating reality settling in, but there was something more. A secret I kept hidden, something that had always lurked in the shadows. The night before I stood at the edge of the cliff, weight on my shoulders, staring at the abyss. I'd come across something information that could change everything, a file so explosive, it could bring this company down. I knew I should walk away from it, run, but I needed to know more. Did they find out? Was that the reason for my sudden dismissal? No time to ponder. Dread consumed me that I walked through the office one last time, sadness enveloping me like fog. The laughter, the clinking of mugs, all drowned out by fear. What lay ahead? They thought this was the end, but it could be the beginning. My hands shook as I clutched the small USB drive hidden in my pocket. What sort of trouble was I really getting into? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The weight of my secret pressed down harder than the unrealized future ahead of me. Each step toward the exit of that office felt like an ascent from some deep abyss, the past echoing behind me with every footfall. My hands, clammy and twitching, clutched the USB drive tightly, a small thing that felt like it held the fate of not just my life, but perhaps those around me as well. I stepped out into the crisp air, the world bursting into color around me while I was draped in shades of gray. The bustle of pedestrians blended into a dull murmur, voices rising and falling like waves crashing on unseen shores. The city, once such a familiar friend, now felt foreign and intimidating. I took a deep breath, the air tinged with autumn leaves and resignation. What was I supposed to do now? The thoughts spiraled through my mind, inevitable and suffocating. I could already envision the conversations awaiting me. Questions from my family, their support masking an undercurrent of fear. What would we do without my salary, my stability? But what if I told them the truth? As I walked, I noticed a small cafe on the corner, its warm lights spilling onto the sidewalk, beckoning me. Without thinking, I pushed open the door. The rich aroma of coffee wrapped around me, momentarily dulling the panic. I ordered a simple cup, hoping to find clarity in the bottom of the cup. I glanced around, catching snippets of laughter from a group of friends sharing a table. A momentary pang of envy struck me. Connection grounded in the ordinary, the very thing I felt I was losing. When my drink arrived, I turned to find a seat at the very back, seeking solace in the shadows as I watched life unfold around me. Two baristas behind the counter bantered playfully, their camaraderie a reminder of the bonds I once cherished in my workplace. One of them, a kind-eyed woman named Lydia, caught my eye. She seemed to sense my distress, her smile shifting to a look of concern. "Everything okay?" she asked gently, her voice cutting through the noise just enough to reach me that I hesitated, unsure whether to unload my troubles onto a stranger. Yet there was an urge within me, like a soft whisper telling me to be heard, even if just for a fleeting moment. I just lost my job," I admitted, my voice sounding smaller than I expected. 17 years down the drain just like that. Her face fell into a mask of empathy. "I'm so sorry. That's really tough, I can't even imagine." She moved closer, her presence warm and inviting. "Would you like me to get you something on the house? It sounds like you could use a pick-me-up." I nodded gratefully, touched by her unexpected kindness. It was a small gesture, but it felt monumental, a flicker of light piercing the shadow that consumed my thoughts. In those few moments, as she prepared a slice of homemade cake for me, I felt the weight of the world lift, if only slightly. The simplicity of human warmth reminded me that I was not alone, even if it felt that way. As I held the slice in my hand, the sweetness enveloped my senses, momentarily masking my bitterness. I took a few bites between sips of coffee, allowing the moment of respite to wash over me. But just as quickly, it began to fade, the worries of my reality crashing back in. And then the phone buzzed. My heart raced as I retrieved a message from an unrecognized number. I opened it hesitantly, the anticipation building in my chest. Each letter could either be heartening or devastating, propelling me further into darkness. "We need to talk. Meet me tonight at the old office. Be careful," it read. Cold dread settled over me. The irony was almost cruel. I had just escaped the clutches of this very place, and yet I was being swept back into its orbit. Glancing outside, the last remnants of daylight dipped behind the city skyline, casting shadows that danced ominously. What did this mean? Who sent it? More pressing, what if they knew about the USB drive? The thought sent a shiver down my spine, icy and unsettling. I felt the walls of my carefully built life beginning to crumble around me once more. I realized that whatever secret I harbored would demand not just courage but desperation. With that, I swallowed the last piece of cake, the sweetness now bitter on my tongue, and stood. My choices were narrowing down, and somehow, I had to decide whether to step back into the danger or keep running toward the uncertain path ahead. But as I stepped out of the cafe, determination surged through me. I wouldn't let fear dictate my life any longer. Tonight, I either reclaimed my future or watched the foundation of my world disintegrate. And with that thought urging my steps, I made my way toward the old office, every heartbeat urging me forward into the unknown. The old office loomed ahead, its darkened windows reflecting the flickering streetlights as if they were trying to keep some semblance of life inside. Each step I took felt heavier, burdened by the weight of the USB drive pressing against my skin in the pocket of my jacket. It contained the information that could unravel everything I had known, but it felt like the last lifeline I had amidst the chaos that I stepped through the door, the creak echoing in the silence, and paused to let my eyes adjust. Dust motes floated in the air, remnants of the many long days spent within these walls. There was an eeriness to it now, a ghost of the camaraderie and hustle that had once filled this space. I could almost hear the laughter of colleagues, the ringing of phones, the whir of printers, all replaced now by an unsettling stillness. My pulse quickened at the thought of confrontation. Who had summoned me back here? Was it someone from the old guard, friends testing loyalty amidst the ruins? Or was it someone seeking to harm? The gnawing questions wrapped around my mind like vines, tightening with every breath I took. I fought the impulse to turn back, to seek comfort in the mundane, but it was too late now. As I rounded the corner toward the meeting space, my heart dropped when I spotted a figure standing by the window pale, thin and shrouded in shadows. It was Ben, my former manager, a man who had been both mentor and tormentor in equal measure. His piercing gaze could cut through any pretense. I had always strived to earn his respect, but in the end, I had never quite measured up to his expectations. "Good to see you," he said, not bothering to disguise the bitterness in his tone. "I figured you'd be curious." The words dripped with a hint of mockery, stinging like salt to an open wound. "Why did you want to meet me?" I managed to say, the fog of anger mixing with a simmer of dread. Curiosity, I suppose, he said simply, gesturing toward a makeshift seat. Sit. As I complied, 1,000 emotions clashed within me. I hated the vulnerability I felt sitting beneath his scrutiny, recalling all the times he had made me doubt my worth, but I was equally angered by my own fear of him. This might be my chance to take control if I could only leverage the knowledge I held. I received a message, I told him, gauging his reaction. You know why I'm here. His lips curled into a condescending smile. I don't know what you think you know. For a brief moment, fire ignited within me. I know about the projects you kept from the board. I know about the fraudulent numbers being reported. And I have proof. Ben's expression darkened, and I felt the precariousness of the moment like standing on the edge of a precipice, swaying toward a fall. And why would you come back here, armed with that information? Were you hoping to hold it over my head? You're not the first person to think they have leverage. Chills crawled up my spine. His casual dismissal stung. So I'm just another pawn in your game? I asked, forcing the bitterness from my voice. Though, you don't understand the game at all, do you? He leaned in, his cold eyes boring into my soul. You might have a part to play, but you do not control the board. Fear pooled in my stomach, knotting itself into despair. I could see that he intended to maintain a chokehold over everything that happened next. No sooner had I began to formulate an escape plan than his phone buzzed violently on the table, buzzing with urgency. The sound was dissonant against the stillness of the room. Ben glanced at it, fiddling with a low laugh. Looks like I have another appointment. A chill crept in again, but it wasn't just fear. It was the realization that time was quickly slipping away. What are you planning? I pressed, desperate to squeeze answers from his enigmatic demeanor. His laughter faded as he leaned back again, a smirk playing on his lips that made my blood run cold. Contingencies are being put in place, and you're just a footnote in the story now. Just then, the lights flickered ominously, cutting out for a heartbeat before returning, illuminating Ben's face, which had shifted abruptly. Let's see what you're really made of, he said with an unsettling grin. In that moment, the door swung open behind me, revealing Lydia, the kind barista, standing breathless. I came to find you, but oh God, what's happening? A jolt of disbelief struck me. How had she found me here? Was it coincidence, or some deeper connection I had yet to uncover? The mixture of her presence shocked me back into reality. Before I could respond, Ben's grin sharpened, a predator savoring the scent of surprise in the air. Looks like I have some unexpected guests. You two should enjoy this little reunion. I'm sure you'll have a lot to talk about. The weight of the room shifted, and I could feel the ground beneath me shudder as the stakes just climbed higher. I looked at Lydia, hoping she might hold an answer to the chaos surrounding us, but mainly I sought reassurance. What had I stepped into, and how would we navigate the treacherous waters ahead? A daunting silence presided as new uncertainties loomed over us, leaving me with a single, harrowing question. Had I unleashed a force far beyond anything I was prepared to face? With my heart racing and the air thick with tension, I braced myself. A storm was finally brewing, and I feared we might be right in its eye. As the unsettling silence clung to the air, I could feel Lydia's eyes darting between Ben and me, her confusion palpable. She had always been a beacon of kindness amidst the chaos of our world, and I was now strikingly aware of how much I needed that light. What is this place? Are you okay? Her voice trembled slightly, but there was a determination behind it that sparked a small flame of hope that I took a breath, fighting the weight of dread that had settled in my chest. I think I found something that could change everything, I said, gesturing vaguely toward the pocket of my jacket where the USB lay hidden, a secret weapon in a battle I never wanted to fight. But Ben, he don't finish that thought. Ben interjected, his tone turning grave again. You don't want to provoke me further? Trust me, like you haven't already provoked enough chaos? I shot back, my courage swollen by Lydia's presence. We were in this together now. That's the spirit. Ben clapped mockingly, but I could see his expression darken further. But let's make one thing clear. You think that little drive is your ticket to freedom. It's a crutch, and crutches break. Lydia stepped forward, her brow furrowing with concern. What exactly is going on here? Why did you call him, Ben? What do you want? He leaned back, considering her words as a predatory patience enveloped him. You, my dear, are not part of this equation. He swiped a hand dismissively in her direction. Go back to your cafe before things get messy. I shook my head vehemently, the fierce protector coming to life in me. She's not leaving. The air pulsated with unspoken conflict as Lydia stood beside me, her hand trembling slightly as she clutched her phone, searching for some way to navigate this dark labyrinth. Please, just tell us what you want, Ben. We can work something out. You misunderstand me, Ben replied, his smile widening to something truly sinister. This isn't about what I want. It's about how you both will fit into my plans. My heart sank. More webs were being spun around us, and I felt as though I was standing on shifting sands. Plans? I echoed, barely aware of the tremor in my voice. What plans? Suddenly, Ben's demeanor shifted. Let me ask you, what would you do if I told you this company is close to tearing itself apart? The news cycles are hungry for blood, and soon, you might find yourself higher on the list of suspects than you ever anticipated. The air grew heavy with his insinuation. Was he trying to intimidate me? Or was there a deeper game at play? I met Lydia's wide eyes and saw a swirl of emotions. Fear, confusion, and outrage. I asked this about the others? I asked, my voice low. About what you've kept hidden. Are you saying that people are at risk? I see you're not as naive as I hoped. But we both know that the minions may have a short time left. Whatever your secret might be, you'll need more than mere evidence if you think you can fight an empire. Then I'll gather my own allies, I replied defiantly. You may have power, but this isn't just about you anymore. Lydia's hand tightened around mine, the small gesture feeding my resolve. We can expose you, she said firmly. If people know, if we show them the truth. Ben's expression soured. You think your righteousness will shield you from the fallout? It won't. The currents run too deep. Just then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed in my pocket, jarring me. I instinctively pulled it out, my heart racing as I noticed the caller ID. It was my friend Jason, a colleague I had hoped to keep out of this mess. Are you going to answer that? Ben taunted, eyes glinting with interest. Maybe it's someone wishing you good luck before the ship goes down. Ignoring him, I swiped to answer. Jason, listen, we need to talk. I saw something big. I don't know how to explain, but you need to meet. Meth line suddenly cut, leaving a flutter of uncertainty in its wake. My fingers trembled as I glanced back at Ben, whose smile had faded, replaced by a menacing stare. Friends coming to the rescue. Are they? How quaint, he scoffed, his voice low and dripping with disdain. But let me remind you, there's a price for every alliance. That I could feel the ground shifting again, the weight of unprecedented betrayal and looming decisions pressing down. Lydia tightened her grip on my arm, and I looked into her eyes, searching for strength. We have to go, I urged quietly, contemplating our path forward. We have to get out of here and find out what Jason knows. This can't end here. But just as it seemed we might find a way out, there was a loud bang from the hallway beyond the meeting room, distant but undeniable. The sounds of chaos echoed, seeped through the walls like a rising tide, bringing a wave of clamoring urgency. What was that? Lydia gasped, her voice shaky now, filled with a realization that the stakes had just escalated dramatically. That I met Ben's eyes once again, reading an unsettling shift within them, the amusement gone. You think you're the only player in this? He spoke, each word measured. You've no idea what you've just awoken. With panic rising, I instinctively turned to grab Lydia's hand. We have to move now. As we whirled toward the door, I couldn't shake the looming dread that whatever awaited us beyond those walls was much darker than we could have prepared for. Was this the haunting revelation Ben had promised? Or had we simply stumbled upon a game that was beyond us both? In that moment, dread morphed into a desperate resolve, and as I opened the door to face the chaos outside, I knew we had crossed a threshold from which there might be no return. And just as the scene unfolded before us, a shocking revelation struck me. The shadows were not just of Ben's making, but they lurked in corners I never wanted to confront. The noise intensified as I swung open the door, a cacophony of shouts and footsteps piercing the tense atmosphere we'd just escaped. My heartbeat pounded steadily in my ears, swelling with mounting anxiety. This couldn't just be random chaos. Something had triggered it, and we were entrenched in the eye of that storm. Lydia's grip on my hand tightened instinctively, her eyes wide with fear. What's happening? Her voice was barely above a whisper, but the urgency in it cut through the din. Stay close to me, I instructed, my own voice surprisingly steady despite the turmoil unfolding around us. I cast a quick glance down the dimly lit hallway, searching for signs of danger. There was no clear escape path, just shadows teasing from every corner. In the midst of the confusion, I spotted a figure moving swiftly toward us from the end of the hall. My breath caught in my throat as recognition surged. It was Jason. His face was taut, panic etching deep lines across his forehead. "Over here," he shouted, his voice breaking through the chaos like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. He gestured frantically, urging us to hurry. As we raced toward him, the atmosphere crackled with something electric, a mix of fear and desperation that spurred us on. My thoughts whirled. Jason had been the one who had found something. What had he seen? "What did you find?" I gasped, but before he could respond, a crash echoed from a nearby room, reverberating down the hallway and causing every instinct in me to scream that we needed to get out now. "Not here," Jason replied, glancing over his shoulder, his eyes wide and frantic. "We need to get to the roof. It's the only safe place. Follow me." As if sensing the urgency of our escape, Lydia pressed closer, her breath quickening, each footfall echoing urgency and the promise of hope. The world around us blurred, the chaos, the fear, the looming threats. Everything coalesced into one singular goal: survival. That we sprinted after Jason, dodging debris and keeping our heads low. My mind raced with thoughts of Ben. His dangerous ambiguity lingered like a shadow. The way he claimed there were deeper layers to this unfolding disaster gnawed at me. What was his connection? How far did his influence reach? Moments later, we burst through a door onto the rooftop, the cool night air hitting us like a wave, filled with tension. Jason looked back, urgency etched in his features. "We're not safe yet. The chaos below, it's part of a distraction." "What do you mean?" I demanded, fighting to keep my heart steady. "There's something much bigger at play," he responded, his voice a hard whisper. "I was looking into the spreadsheets, the transactions there, not just about the company. There's another layer, a hidden agenda. It's all tied to Ben and something he's trying to bury." Heart pounding, I felt the weight of his words settle in my chest, pressing down like iron. "You're saying there's a conspiracy?" "More than that," he replied, desperation flickering behind his gaze. "They're looking to eliminate anyone who gets too close to the truth. And that includes us now." Lydia, still breathing heavily beside me, shook her head, disbelief mingling with fear. "How do you know this, Jason?" "I saw documents," he confessed, his voice quaking slightly. "And during a meeting I accidentally overheard, Ben was talking about cleaning house, about making examples out of people who got too close to the truth." Panic skittered through me. We were targets now, pieces on a chessboard we didn't fully understand. So what do we do? I felt desperation nip at my heels. Before Jason could answer, the door to the rooftop slammed open again. We turned just in time to see Ben emerge, his expression dark, keening with menace. "Running away, are we? I thought we could have a more enlightening conversation." "Get back," I shouted, instinctively stepping in front of Lydia, my heart racing. "You really think you can scare me?" Ben sneered, stepping forward, the weight of his presence filling the space. "You're merely pawns in this game, and soon, you'll realize just how small your moves are." But Jason wasn't backing down. "This isn't a game anymore, Ben. You don't have the upper hand." Ben's eyes gleamed with something dark-haired determination wrapped in malice. "Oh, but I do. You see, the truth is often buried, and those who dig it up tend to become casualties of the war it ignites." His words hung in the air, suffocating in their implication. The gravity of the situation bore down on us, and dread lanced through my veins, intertwining with our dwindling hope. But as fear threatened to take hold, I glimpsed something over Ben's shoulder, a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. My breath caught as I turned to look, heart hammering. There, standing in the shadows behind him, a figure emerged, their face illuminated by the eerie glow of the building's rooftop lights. It was someone I recognized, someone I didn't want to see. My former manager, Rachel, her expression a blend of fear and resolve. "Stop, Ben. This has gone too far, Rachel." My voice cracked, disbelief and fear intertwining. What was she doing here? "Come down from your high horse, and let's resolve this. You're involved in something terrible that could ruin lives." Ben's laughter echoed, savage and chilling. "You think you're here to save them? The clock is ticking, girls and boys." You may yet discover how quickly the sands of time shift. Chaos resumed its crescendo around us as I struggled to comprehend the sudden turn of events. And in that moment, the gripping realization hit me. Everything was unraveling at an alarming speed, and now we were more exposed than ever. That I looked from Ben to Rachel, uncertainty churning within me. There was no way back from this. The impending storm quaked on the horizon, and all I could do was brace myself for the fallout that would inevitably come. In a world fraught with unexpected alliances and hidden truths, only one thing remained clear: the real battle was just beginning. The air around us crackled with tension, thick and suffocating, as Rachel stepped forward, her resolve hardening into an unmistakable aura of defiance. "You don't need to follow Ben blindly, Jason," she urged, the words aimed like arrows, piercing through the veneer of loyalty that had once bound him to this man. "Don't get involved, Rachel," Ben warned, his voice dark with an undercurrent of threat, the menace coiling around his form like a serpent ready to strike. "You have debts that need paying. You're in no position to stand against me." The flicker of uncertainty in Rachel's eyes gave way to a hardened glare. "And you think they'll merely follow your orders? You underestimate the strength of people you've wronged." I couldn't tear my gaze away from the unfolding confrontation. Each word a heavy stone dropped into an already turbulent sea. My heart raced. Could Rachel be trusted in this moment? "Why are you here?" I demanded, my voice wavering between fear and hope. "What do you know?" "I know more than you realize," she answered, daring to meet Ben's unyielding stare. "There's a fire within every single one of us who's suffered under your regime. You think they'll cower forever?" Jason turned his head, the conflict etching deeper lines into his face. "Rachel, if you've left to turn against him, then what could you possibly gain? This isn't your fight," he stated, a mix of desperation and concern. "It's not just my fight," she shot back, her voice swelling with fervor. "It's all of ours. I've seen the documents too, Jason. I've buried my head in the sand long enough. I can't ignore the truth any longer. The way Ben orchestrates this entire scheme, it's monstrous." I could barely keep my thoughts straight as they flared with possibilities. Rachel wasn't just a voice of dissent. She was a beacon of courage in the midst of looming dread. "And what happens if we expose him?" I pressed, aware that I sounded desperate. "He'll go after us. There's nothing he won't do." Ben's grin was venomous, revealing more than a hint of sadistic pleasure. "She speaks the truth, but that only deepens your naivety. Every action has a consequence, and rebellion rarely ends well. You're merely a trio against an Empyrean empire that has eyes everywhere." As his words hit me, a chill settled in my chest. An empire. It loomed over us, cold and pulsating, ready to crush any flicker of resistance. But amidst the frenzy of swirling thoughts, a flicker of hope ignited. "If we know the truth, we can fight back." My voice was steadier now, shining with newfound determination. "Rachel, if you've seen the documents too, can you help us? We might stand a chance to wake others to what's happening." Rachel hesitated for a brief moment, her confidence wavering slightly before regaining its strength. "I can show you the files. The abuses, the cover-ups, the threats, it's all there. But it won't be easy. We'll have to move quickly and strategically." "Then we have to act now," Jason insisted, his resolve crystallizing in his eyes. "We use what we know, leverage our knowledge to pull the rug out from under him." Ben's laughter bubbled forth, a sound thick with condescension. "You think you can just waltz away with the truth? Do you see yourself as some type of heroes?" Rachel spat back at him. "No more games, Ben. You've played God for too long. We're through letting you decide who lives and dies." In that decisive moment, our alliance solidified, and for the first time, I felt a surge of strength growing among us. The fear that had been propelling us began to transform into a fierce determination, a shared heart beating together against the tyranny we faced. Just then, the sound of footsteps approached from the stairwell behind us, quick and insistent, an impending threat intruding upon our fragile resolve. The door burst open, flooding our space with shadows, and I breathed shallowly as the familiar figure stepped out. It was Zoe, her face pale but fierce. "Guys, you need to see this. They're planning something, and it's worse than you think," she exclaimed, her voice urgent, pushing the door closed behind her. "Worse than what?" I asked, anxiety tightening. "Its grip." She glanced at us, fear in her eyes. Something's happening tonight. Ben's organizing a security sweep, and it's not just covering his tracks anymore. There's a hit list, your names are on it. Suddenly, the ground felt as though it was shifting beneath me, my world tilting sideways. I barely had time to register the weight of Zoe's words when a deafening crash echoed through the rooftop entrance, causing us all to instinctively step back. Ben's expression darkened, but something in my heart ignited amid the chaos. We had each other and the truth on our side, and even with the shadows creeping closer, we had to stand firm against the tide. But as we braced ourselves for the confrontation that was sure to come, a flickering light caught my attention from the corner of my eye. It was my phone, vibrating violently against the cracked rooftop floor, an incoming message from an unknown number. I reached down and opened it, my heart racing as I read the words that could only be described as a harbinger of deeper trouble. I know what you're planning. It's too late for you now. The air around us crystallized with an icy dread, and within moments, that looming sense of dread proved true. The game was far from over, and the battle was spiraling into darker, more treacherous realms than any of us had anticipated. The chaos that erupted in the wake of Zoe's revelation felt almost surreal. The loud crash had sent shockwaves through our group, each one igniting the fear that had simmered just beneath the surface. I could see it in Jason's clenched jaw, in Rachel's narrowed eyes, and in Zoe's trembling hands as she glanced toward the shadows lingering at the entrance. "Everyone, we need to move," Rachel shouted, her defiance flaring again as she pulled us back from the edge of panic. "We can't stay here. They'll be coming for us." We scrambled to find a route from the roof. Panic clawed at my insides. Every moment felt like a race against time, and yet I was rooted to the spot, staring down at the ominous message flashing on my phone screen. It felt like a warning bell clamoring in my head, a reminder of my fragile hold on safety. "We can't just leave," Jason urged, eyes darting between the door and the rooftop's edge. "What if we become trapped?" "No one's getting trapped tonight," I replied hoarsely, finally tearing my gaze from the phone and forcing my mind to focus. "Rachel, do you have any idea where we can go? Somewhere Ben wouldn't suspect." "Follow me," she commanded, her voice infused with urgency as she dashed towards the stairwell. I could feel the others trailing closely behind, a tether of desperate hope binding us together against the palpable fear that loomed just beyond our hasty retreat. Every step down the stairs felt like a descent into something darker. As each foot hit the concrete, dread settled deeper in my chest. I couldn't shake the drip of worry that the message on my phone was more than just a threat. It was a harbinger of betrayal, a suggestion that the walls around us were closing in. "Seriously, what does that message mean?" Zoe pressed, her brow furrowed with concern as we stopped momentarily on a landing. "What are you hiding from us?" My voice faltered. "I don't know, but it feels like someone's watching." Before I could explain further, a loud bang echoed through the stairwell, cutting off my thoughts. The distinct sound of boots pounding against the concrete above us sent shivers racing down my spine. "It's them," Rachel hissed, eyes wide. "We need to keep moving." We bounded down the remaining steps, my heart hammering in rhythm with our frantic descent. One flight, two flights. Each fleeting second felt stretched thin with tension as my mind spun with what I had yet to divulge. Secrets lurked in my past, fragments of a life I thought were sealed away. But now, each beat of my heart threatened to surface something I was determined to keep buried. Finally, we pushed through a door leading to the back, a breath of fresh air, a tangled web of exhaust fumes mixed with the scent of rain-soaked asphalt. The cool night air hit my flushed skin, but it did little to quell the apprehension tightening my chest. "We need a car," Jason stated decisively, scanning the deserted road while keeping his back to the wall as if to shield us from sight. "If we can just get to the outskirts, we can regroup." And his voice faded as the muffled sounds of chaos from above echoed and merged, swirling into a cacophony of dread. My gut twisted. I couldn't shake the sensation that we were mere pawns being pushed toward an unwanted endgame. Before I could respond, I caught sight of movement across the alley. Shadows coalesced into the shape of a man emerging from an adjoining street, and I instinctively tensed, preparing for whatever came next. But the figure held up his hands in a gesture of peace, a familiar face illuminated by the dim glow of a streetlight. "Caleb, my former colleague and ally from the inside," stood before us. "Thank God I found you," he exclaimed, breathless but filled with purpose. "I was worrying you'd be caught. I didn't know how much time we had, so I took a chance and came to warn you. Ben is getting ready to move. You have to leave now." My pulse quickened as I felt a flicker of something resembling hope amid the haze of desperation. But the nagging voice in my head whispered warnings, urging caution. If Ben had allies everywhere, could Caleb really be trusted? "What do you mean, move?" Rachel demanded, her tone suspicious as she crossed her arms. "How do we know you're not just here to lead us into a trap?" Caleb's expression darkened. "You don't have time for this. You think Ben will spare anyone? Get in my car. It'll get you to safety." His plea seemed genuine, but doubts gnawed at me like moths, threatening to consume what little hope I had left. Just as I opened my mouth to propose an alternative plan, I felt my phone vibrate against my pocket again, like an insistent prod in the belly of uncertainty. I fished it out, my hands shaking, and saw another message had come through. "You should have known better than to trust him." In that moment, every instinct screamed at me. No, it wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about every decision weighing heavy on my heart. Trust was a thread, fraying dangerously, and as I looked into Caleb's earnest eyes, I felt the weight of countless choices crushing me. "What do we do?" Zoe's voice wavered, the urgency in the air thickening as walls began to close in again. I stepped forward, uncertainty mingling with resolution. "We need a plan, but first I need to know where we stand with those we trust. And maybe more importantly, who's been playing for both sides." And in that fragile moment, as Ben's empire loomed like a shadow on the horizon, the day's battle raged on, and the darkness threatening to consume us all began its swift and unforgiving advance. The alley felt smaller now, suffocating under the weight of tension and uncertainty. I could hear the faint noise from the confrontation above reverberating like a distant storm, and it only served to amplify the storm brewing within me. The flickering lights in the empty street dieted around us, casting distorted shadows that danced menacingly against the walls. I needed to ground myself. Caleb remained as steadfast as a rock in the whirlwind of our fears. His presence was a rope to clasp onto, yet a part of me feared that the rope might snap at any moment. "Are you sure we can trust him?" Jason asked, his voice low, eyes darting between Caleb and the alley entrance. The question hung in the air like the scent of rain approaching, almost tangible. A part of me wanted to believe Caleb, to trust him based on our past shared experiences and battles fought together. But the nagging warning on my phone pulsed in my mind like a metronome inadvertently marking time as each second slipped. Finally, I took a breath, pushing the crowded emotions down. "We need to make a choice." "But why did you come, Caleb?" I said, meeting his gaze. "What's in it for you?" Caleb took a deep breath, glancing left and right as if to ensure no one else was within earshot. "I've seen what Ben is capable of, and I won't stand by while he destroys lives. The risk I took to find you means I still believe in what we can do together," he implored, desperation lacing his tone. "He's turned the company into something unrecognizable. It's not just about you all anymore. It's affecting everyone." Rachel's brow furrowed as she considered his words. Her vision seemed clouded, but I knew she was weighing her distrust against our precarious reality. "Let's say we believe you," she finally said. "What does safety look like with you? We can't just jump into a vehicle, not knowing what's waiting on the other side." Caleb nodded, understanding the hesitation. "There's a safe house here, a place I've prepared in case things went south. I just need you to trust me to get you there. It's not far, and we'll have help waiting." The idea of help sparked a tiny ember of hope amidst the lingering haze of fear. I wanted to believe this could work, that there was a way out. But the shadows clung to the edges of my heart, forming walls I'd built over countless betrayals and losses. With every glance exchanged among my friends, the silence shouted louder, each of us wrestling with our inner turmoil. And then, the phone buzzed again. Like a hard truth I couldn't ignore, the screen lit up, displaying another message. "You have no idea what you're stepping into." The thrill of hope began to feel more like a burden as I stared into Caleb's eyes. "If we choose to leave with you, we need to go now," I said, my voice steadying as I mustered resolve. "But we need a contingency plan. If this is a trap, we can't go down without fighting back." Caleb looked at me, an understanding passing between us. "You're smart to think like this. I wouldn't want to lead you into danger," he said softly. If something feels off, we'll adapt. Just stay close to me. Rachel and Jason exchanged reluctant nods, still unsure, but urged forward by the cacophony echoing down the alley. Okay, Rachel said finally, the reluctance melting into determination. Let's move, but stay alert. With a shared sigh of resignation and resolve, we followed Caleb to the end of the alley. I felt the weight of anticipation pressing in on us, and every step echoed our hesitancy to trust. As we rounded the corner, a sudden crash sounded behind us, the sound reverberating ominously. The door to the rooftop slid open, and my heart dropped as I caught sight of a familiar face emerging into the night. My muscles froze as I took in Ben's silhouette, flanked by menacing figures standing at attention. A smirk creased his lips as he scanned the street, eyes landing directly on me. Well, what do we have here? Running scared, are we? He taunted, voice dense with malice. The surrounding air shifted, charged with a tension that sparked an impending confrontation. Caleb cursed under his breath, and I felt Jason's grip tighten on my elbow, warning me to go. But I stood my ground, stealing a glance at the faces of my friends and feeling the collective pulse of fear and defiance mingling in the air around us. Go, I shouted suddenly. The urgency poured from my lungs like heat into the night. Run. Don't look back. I turned to Ben, forcing every ounce of courage I had into my voice. You won't take us down without a fight. With that, chaos erupted behind me. As my friends scattered down the street, I felt Caleb's strength at my side, and the gauntlet had been thrown. The fight was imminent, but I couldn't help but wonder if I had just provoked a monster far more dangerous than anything I had prepared for. As I dashed forward, the weight of the world on my shoulders, a new message flickered onto my screen one last time. You should have known better than to provoke him. And with that final whisper of treachery hanging in the night, I felt the ground shift beneath me as I plunged into the depths of an uncertain fate, teetering on the edge of everything I thought I knew. The chaos that erupted felt almost surreal, as if the world had shifted on its axis the moment I shouted for my friends to run. Ben's laughter echoed, a hollow sound that blended with the pounding of my heart and the frantic footsteps of Jason and Rachel fleeing into the dark. The adrenaline surged in my veins as I confronted the man bent on destroying everything we had built. Oh, you really think you have what it takes? Ben taunted, advancing slowly, punctuating his words with purposeful steps. I could feel the tension radiating from Caleb beside me, his determination palpable, yet I sensed an undercurrent of fear. What I have is a fire you'll never extinguish. I spat back, channeling my anxiety into defiance. But inside me, a gnawing doubt crept in, whispering that perhaps I was merely a candle flickering in an impending storm. Then let's see if that fire can withstand a little heat, Ben said, and as he signaled, his henchmen surged forward. Caleb lunged towards me, his movement fluid and protective, and we darted into the jumble of shifting shadows cast by flickering streetlights. My mind scrambled to piece together a plan, our surroundings a blur of urgency. Over here, Caleb shouted, pointing toward a narrow side street. My breath caught in my throat as I followed him, fear entwining with the flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could get away. As we neared the alley, an unexpected calm settled over us for the blink of an eye. Rachel and Jason were just ahead, leading us toward an open door tucked away like a carefully kept secret. My pulse raced, but this time not from fear. The door stood ajar, a promise of refuge embracing the fraying edges of my resolve. Inside, the place was dimly lit, filled with the faint scent of old wood and something more comforting, a hint of lavender, perhaps. A woman emerged from the shadows, concern etched on her face as she darted toward us. Quick, you need to hide, she urged, ushering us into a back room where a small window overlooked an empty courtyard. I've been here waiting for a signal, but I didn't imagine things would escalate so quickly. Who sent you? Caleb demanded, his brows knitted together in cautious scrutiny. Someone who knows Ben's every move, she replied, her eyes darting around, as if anticipating the walls themselves would now betray us. You're all in danger, and we don't have much time. As we settled into the room, I felt my heart beating more steadily. Though surrounded by uncertainty, for a moment I grasped at the thread of hope. Perhaps this woman could help us. My instincts whispered in the back of my mind, reminding me that trust didn't come easy anymore. Let's focus on what we can do now. Do you have any supplies or a plan? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Supplies, no. A plan, yes. We need to draw Ben away from here, she said, her eyes flickering towards the window. He won't stop until he's found you, so we'll have to create a diversion. One that catches him off guard. As she spoke, Jason leaned toward me, and I noticed the crease of worry etched on his brow. You think we can really pull this off? He whispered, his tone heavy with doubt. I don't know, I admitted softly. But we have to try. It's either that, or we let him corner us. That sentiment settled deep within me, solidifying my resolve. Just then, an earth-shaking crash echoed through the alley we had just escaped, followed by shouts and distant sirens. The woman's expression shifted, urgency washing over her. We need to move now. We gathered ourselves as she led the way, a steadfast leader in a storm. Suddenly, the unsettling feeling in my gut flared to life, a premonition of the chaotic events that still awaited us. As we darted out through the back, I glanced back toward the doorway and met Caleb's gaze. His expression was grave, but a flicker of hope emerged, igniting the edges of his lips. The streets felt alive with danger as we pushed forward, and with every corner we turned, the shadows seemed darker, more oppressive. Keep moving. We'll find a safe place, the woman urged as she kept pace with us, her determination unfaltering. Fear wrapped around me like a shroud, but deep inside, I clung to the tiny seed of hope. Maybe this time, we would discover a way out, however tenuous. But as we neared a distant glow, the sudden chill in the air sent a shiver racing down my spine. I suddenly felt eyes on us. Ben's men were closing in, a sinister presence lurking just out of sight. Go, the woman insisted, urgent now as she urged us toward a narrow alley that spilled into a wider street. We rushed forward, but as I glanced behind, I saw a figure emerge from the shadows, stepping into the light with an unexpected calm. It was Bennett, our former but this time, he looked different, more menacing, as his eyes locked onto mine with a knowing smirk. You thought you could escape this? He called, voice carrying through the tension. A terrible realization twisted in my gut. This wasn't just about Ben anymore. I could feel the ground shift beneath me as secrets long buried threatened to unravel, and each breath whispered of choices yet to be made. And just like that, the weight of the night consumed me again, the specter of despair looming closer as we stood on the precipice of our fate. My heart raced, a cacophony of fear and uncertain anticipation, as I realized that perhaps the battles we were fighting were only the beginning of something much darker, a revelation layered deep within the shadows of our pasts that might change everything. The air was thick with tension as we faced Bennett, the once silent ghost of our past now transformed into a looming figure of authority, cloaked in malice. I felt vulnerability crash against the wall of my defiance, teetering on the precipice of uncertainty with every word he uttered. You're all still playing this game. You still think you can outrun the truth? He taunted, his voice sharp and laced with contempt. Bennett was a puppet master in the theater of our fears, and I could feel his gaze digging into the deepest crevices of our psyches, revealing insecurities I thought I had buried. What do you want from us? Jason demanded, stepping slightly in front of me, a protective shield built from years of camaraderie. Bennett's smirk deepened, twisting into something sinister and alluring. What do I want? Oh, the more pertinent question is, what do you think you can gain by opposing me? You've already lost control over the very narrative you seek to craft. I stepped forward, unwilling to let fear roost within my chest any longer. You underestimate us. This isn't just about you. I spat, every syllable dripping with contempt. We know important things about you, about Ben, and we're willing to fight back. Fight back? He chuckled, a sound eerily reminiscent of Ben's mockery. You have no leverage here. You play your hand expecting the game to remain the same. But the truth is everything has changed. Caleb shifted beside me, his eyes fierce but cautious. Then why are you here? If you hold all the cards, what do you need from us? Bennett's laughter faded, his eyes narrowing with a predatory glint. Perhaps I've come to have a little fun. The stakes have risen, and I do adore a good spectacled my heart raced, doubt curling around its rhythm as I felt the precarious balance of power shifting in the stillness. We're not your puppets, I said firmly, though the tremor in my voice revealed my fear. We're not afraid of you or Ben anymore. You should be, he shot back, because what lies ahead, oh, it's truly shocking. Just as his words hung in the air, vibrant with tension, the distant sound of approaching sirens mixed with the rustle of footsteps closing in around us like a tightening vice. The night felt alive, the weight of inevitability pressing down with every moment we hesitated. We have to move, Rachel whispered urgently, and I felt it echo within my very being, a call to action that took precedence over every fear I had been holding on to. Bennett's face contorted into something sinister, revealing his true intent before the facade slipped back on. Run if you must, he said, his voice dripping with insidious glee. But you can't escape your past, will always find you. I felt the air snap as we surged back into the shadows, the pulse of survival guiding our every step. My heart raced as we darted down the narrow alley, uncertainty trailing behind us like an echo of our desperation. Each step was fueled by the knowledge that Ben and his empire would not let us go. Which way? I gasped as we veered into another alley, the labyrinth of the city swallowing us. Keep left, Caleb urged, pointing to a flickering streetlight ahead. There's a transit station nearby. We can lose them there. But even as we fled, I could feel that darkness stalking us, heavy with malice, and I couldn't shake Bennett's mocking words from threading through my mind. They were prophecies disguised as taunts, swirling in an unrelenting tempest that we finally burst into the station, our breaths mingling with the air filled with stagnant sounds. The low hum of machinery pulsed around us, a mechanical heartbeat that felt both welcomed and grave. I looked around, mentally churning through our dwindling options. Oh, you think we'll be safe here? Zoe whispered beside me, her eyes darting nervously to the exit. Right now, we just need to lay low, I replied, my own voice shaking beneath the weight of uncertainty. We can think of our next move, but we need to assume they're still 2 steps ahead. We searched for an inconspicuous corner to hide. I felt Caleb's arm brush past mine. An unspoken alliance formed in the crucible of fear. We can't give up, he said, his voice a steady reassurance among the chaos. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, and I pulled it out with trepidation. My heart sank as I read the latest message, a chilling harbinger of the desperation that had followed me all night. You think you can hide? We see you. The walls felt as if they were closing in, trapping my mind in a frenzy of panic. We have to stay together, I murmured, clutching my phone tightly. In the midst of the mounting tension, a frantic voice broke through the crowd of murmurs. There they are. A group of figures emerged from the shadows at the entrance, their eyes scanning the room with ruthless determination, once again proving that we were not safe. Back here, I shouted, leading us toward a small maintenance door to the side, praying it was our exit from this nightmare. But just as we turned, the door swung open unexpectedly, revealing a pair of startled workers. What are you doing here? One of them demanded, confusion mirroring our own panic. Leave us alone, I shouted, urgency spilling from my voice like a flood. But as we turned to escape, a wave of realization washed over me. The last line I had drawn in this battle was no longer clear. With hearts pounding in unison, we ran past the workers, our flight from reality merging with the urgency that surrounded us. The clamor of the station faded behind us as we emerged outside into the dark streets, realizing we had become lost in a convoluted maze of betrayal and fear. Just before we turned the corner, I caught a glimpse of Bennett's figure emerging from the shadows inside the station. He was a harbinger of the darkness that followed, an anchor tethered to our past that wouldn't let go. As we dashed forward, my mind reeled. How had we landed in this messy entanglement? What fate waited ahead? Should we confront the truth, fighting against the empire looming over us, or would force of circumstance lead us all to ruin? Is anyone hurt? Rachel asked, breathless and wide-eyed, fear wrapping her voice in a tremor. We'll be okay. But we need to keep moving without hesitation, Jason replied, urgency propelling him as we forged ahead through the night. But with every ounce of determination propelling us forward, shadows seemed to loom closer, the anticipation of an unknown fate thickening in the air. And just when I spotted an alley that seemed to cut off from the chaos, dread surged as realization hit. I turned to tell my friends to follow. But that precise moment struck like a thunderclap. Sirens echoed closer. piercing our sense of safety. Time was running thin. This way, I called out, motioning fiercely. And with a shared unity of purpose, we surged into the darkened alley, hearts pounding as we raced to elude the shadows stalking us from the past. With each step, a thread of hope intertwined with the sense of impending doom, a bittersweet reminder that the strength we clung to came from the friendships formed in the depths of despair. We would fight through every confrontation, no matter the cost, because in that moment, lit by the stark glow of distant streetlights, we knew, standing united was our only chance to overcome this darkness. And with that unyielding resolve, we plunged into the heart of uncertainty, ready to reclaim the truth that had long been buried under layers of betrayal and lies. We would rise like a phoenix from the flames, forging our path toward light and liberation, even if the journey was fraught with peril. Because together, we would emerge whole, and that truth, no matter how painful, would lead us home. But as we navigated deeper into the labyrinth, a familiar pang of fear clenched my heart. Even as we fought to reclaim the night, I realized the real battle was still yet to come, and it wouldn't release its grip on our lives until we embraced the truth we had buried so long ago. So, with every pulse behind us urging us onward, we fought for survival and we fought for each other. Darkness may have lurked on the horizon, but within us blossomed a fire that could never be extinguished. We emerged, stronger, not just from the fleeting moments of fear, but from the love and hope we carried, a flame that could guide us through even the darkest nights. The truth would set us free, but it would demand everything we had left. And as we plunged forward into that uncertain embrace, I found solace in one final thought resonating deep within me. Together, we could finally break free of the chains of our past, stepping into a future where hope reigned supreme and the darkness would finally relent.